Ho, 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 ho! Merry Christmas!
What's good, YouTube? Ben here. Welcome to the next video on the channel. In this one, I'm going to give you my next Warframe Steel Path viable build. This is for Okina Prime. Let's get into this. Alright, so Okina Prime is like a dual sword, kind of like Fang Prime, but it has a really unique Incarnate form and a really unique trait with it, which we'll go into as we go into it. But first, I want to quickly point out what is a Steel Path viable build. So I label my videos as Steel Path viable builds because they are viable for you to use them on the Steel Path. Will they get you to level cap? Probably not. But can they get you through pretty much every mission on the Steel Path? Yes. Alright, let's jump in with Incarnate form. So reach 6 times combo and then heavy attack to activate Incarnate form. Kills generate spectral daggers that target enemies, applying max cold status stacks. And it also gives you 100% melee damage, 20% sprint speed, and 20% to parkour velocity. Incarnate Evolution 2, Seeing Red, increased base damage by plus 20, 5 additional combos on targets affected by slash status. Evolution 3, Standoff, combo timer pauses when weapon is holstered, so that way you don't lose your combo multiplier, even when you swap weapons, which is really nice. And Evolution 4, Commodore's Fortune, increased base critical chance by plus 6%. So, let's jump into the build. That's the wrong weapon. Whoopsie. Okina, thank you. So we're running Gnashing Pyara as the aura mod. So stance, lunging punctures with impaling spirals. We got Prime Pressure Point for 165% melee damage. Galvanized Steel for 110% critical chance, times 2 for heavy attacks, and on melee kill plus 30% critical damage for 20 seconds stacked to 4 times. This increases melee criticals like absolute crazy. Galvanized Reflex for 50% heavy attack efficiency and on melee kill plus 20% initial combo for 20 seconds stacks 4 times. So it allows you to keep your combo initial anyway from when you take out enemies, but also increases your speed for heavy attacks, which is great. Blood Rush for 40% critical chance and stacks with the combo multiplier. So this works in tandem with stuff like Galvanized Reflex, where you have initial combo, so you're pretty much always hitting harder crits. And of course with Galvanized Steel. We've got Organ Shatter for 90% critical damage. Virulent Scourge for 60% Toxin and 60% status chance. Vicious Frost for 60% cold and 60% status chance. And Volcanic Edge for 60% heat and 60% status chance. So we are running a mainly critical but also partial viral build. In the Arcane slot, we've got Melee Animosity on rank 5. On melee hit, gain 42% critical chance on your next heavy attack, up to 420%. So when you use heavy attacks, it's going to do a heck of a lot more damage. But we're going for 75.6% critical chance, 4.9 times critical multiplier, 67.2% status with heat and viral. Heat, of course, to help cut through armor, and viral to cut through health. But without any further ado, let's jump into the mission. I will show you what this thing can do. Alright, as per normal, we're at Oxymoko in the Void, and I'll quickly explain why. So, the Void is one of the latest game areas of the Steel Path, so it gives you some of the highest level enemies. Not to mention you're dealing with the Corrupted, and with the Corrupted you're dealing with enemies with just health, enemies with health and shields, and enemies with high armor, giving you a more varied example of what your weapon / Warframe can do. Let's jump in. So, immediately start, and it doesn't take long to start wiping out enemies, but once you get that first kill, it allows a lot of your other stuff to proc, so you'll always have a decent start to your combo multipliers. And then, of course, as your combo multiplier gets even higher, you're going to deal a lot harsher crits. Not to mention the more hits you do to an enemy thanks to the viral and heat statuses, you're going to be cutting through armor and health like crazy. But as per normal, I will stay in the mission long enough to get to the Acolyte so you can see what it does against this. That's not a problem. I try not to do any cuts, just so you guys know that there's no shenanigans going on, but sometimes it is essential if the Acolyte's just taking way too long to spawn. And for those wondering what's on my Necros, in case there's any buffs, that there isn't. Necros runs, what's its aura? I can't remember what its aura mod is, but it's nothing that gives bonuses to melee or anything, so you don't have to worry about that. That's why normally I use Atlas for other weapon builds, but because my Atlas runs Steel Charge as its primary aura, that would then give an artificial boost to my weapons, which is not ideal. So, wanted to make sure that we get that out there. My Atlas build's on my channel anyway, so you guys can see it, but that's why I don't use Atlas for melee builds. But as you can see, we are dominating through, and if we activate the Incarnate form, it's going to start throwing out spectral daggers that deal cold damage, and it freezes enemies in place, allowing you to absolutely wombo combo them. which is actually really nice because it does quite a decent amount of status damage, and it will guarantee inflict max cold, meaning it freezes the enemies completely in place. So you don't actually have to worry too much about a lot of enemies like swarming you because of that effect, because it'll start every few seconds just sending out waves of cold. I hate this part of the level. Genuinely hate this part because I have to get up there now. There we go. But of course, thanks to our Arcane and our Galvanize mods, we're also able to keep our combo multiplier quite high. So because of that, dealing with enemies in general isn't really a big problem. Because even the passive of the Incarnate form starts dealing a ton of damage anyway, thanks to it being max cold status. But then, of course, we're constantly hitting pretty much red and orange crits, especially when our combo multiplier is in maximum. Because of the combo multiplier being so high, even when it's at like 5 times, you're still pretty much consistently seeing orange crits. And then, of course, the higher the combo multiplier goes, the more red crits you're going to be seeing. I did consider running Condition Overload as well, but decided against it purely because in order to run Condition Overload with the max crit build, I'd have to take off one of my statuses. It wouldn't work as well because I'd lose one of my main statuses, which is an issue. So I've decided to go with this build as opposed to that. You could run Condition Overload in place of, like, let's say Heat, for example, but you will lose out on armor stripping thanks to the Heat status. So it is entirely up to you. I've chosen to go with it this way, and as you can see, it is not a problem. Like, we're not running into any issues as it pertains to taking out enemies. Enemies are all falling, even heavily armored units, which you'll see exactly what this weapon does to Acolytes as soon as the Acolyte spawns in. So, like I said, it's not really a big deal. But for example, Eximus, pretty much gone. There we go. Of course, against Eximus units when you're using melee, it is primarily better and beneficial to go for heavy attacks anyway, to deal a lot more damage. But thanks to the mod support on this weapon, we now have really powerful heavy attacks, even when we're at our lowest combo multiplier after taking out someone, which is 5. I'm hitting on the wall. Very nice. Oh, the enemies must be underneath. Yeah, they are. For example, heavily armored units, gone. It's honestly, I actually really love this weapon. It's a really solid melee weapon. In fact, it might be my favorite dual dagger, dual sword melees. Just because of how solid it is. Like, it's a really solid weapon where you don't have to worry too much about much of anything. Because by the time it's a problem, you've already dealt with it. I mean, Acolytes are a different story, but you'll see that when we get into it. But we can still very easily take out Acolytes. That is not that big a problem. I am hoping it spawns soon, though, or once I have a better combo multiplier, so you can see how fast you can rinse it. But it's also better for me to show you with a lower combo multiplier anyway, because then if you don't have the higher combo multiplier when the Acolyte comes, in this case we will, but... Right, our Acolyte's down there, that's fine. So start rinsing him, shields gone, health about to go, boom, dead. That's how fast you can take out Acolytes with this weapon. It is a pretty ridiculous weapon, honestly. Like, I love this weapon. To be fair, every weapon that's got an Incarnate form so far, I've absolutely loved using, so... I'll take it. But let me know what you think about this weapon and this build in the comments down below. Don't forget you can support the channel completely for free just by liking, commenting, and subscribing. It really helps that YouTube algorithm. Don't forget you can support the channel even further by becoming a channel member from as little as 99 pence per month. And don't forget I do live stream. When I go live here on YouTube and on Twitch. My streams here on YouTube are in the shorts form feeds, more for mobile. If you want to catch the exact same streams at the exact same time in full 1080p, feel free to join me on Twitch. That link is in the description below.